Over the past year, two designs have captured our attention and dominated the conversation more than any others: the Tesla Cybertruck and the Sony PS5. And while dominating that conversation, they have been monopolizing my text chains and private messages with friends for almost 12 months now. So today I thought it'd be a great idea to step back and look at these two designs, not from the standpoint of whether I like them or not, but instead to ask the question of, are they a good strategy or not? All right, everybody, let's get into it. So if you follow me on Twitter or on Instagram, and if you're watching this video, I hope that you do, you probably know that I'm not a huge fan of the aesthetic of the Cybertruck. There's just a few things that are really hard for me to get past. One, the silhouette. Two, the overall aesthetic that feels a little bit evil. It reminds me of Darth Vader's shuttle in Star Wars, and I just feel like in general designs should be friendly and optimistic. And then three, zooming in on details like the wheel arches just doesn't feel as resolved as it could be. But that said, there's a lot of things that I actually do really like about it. I love that they started with a manufacturing technique and that led to a very unique design aesthetic. I think that's really admirable. I think it takes a lot of courage to break from the design language that they spent the last 10 years building, first with the Model S, and then with the X and the 3 and the Y. They all have a very kind of similar look and feel, which I generally think is a good strategy. But the thing I love about it the most is that it is so polarizing. From my standpoint as a designer, I want to make things that people remember, that are meaningful to people. And so making something that is polarizing is one way to quickly get at that. While sure, you're going to provoke some hatred from people who don't get it, you're also going to provoke in equal or maybe even in stronger amounts a serious hardcore following of love. And that is something that is irreplaceable. As a designer, I'm trying to get people to love the products that I'm helping companies bring to life. I want people to have an affinity with the brand that I'm working for. So in creating a polarizing design, they've essentially said the people that get it, the people that are with us, stick with us, and those that don't get it, this isn't for you. And realistically, what percentage of the market does Tesla need to capture? 5%? 5% of the pickup truck market is a huge amount. So by that metric, literally 95% of people could not like it. As long as 5% of people love it enough to purchase it, they're going to be fine. When we think about polarizing designs, we often think of it as this linear spectrum, right? So maybe at the polar opposite, you would traditionally say from the angular, sharp, low poly design of the Cybertruck, maybe you'd put something very cute and very friendly, like something like the Fiat 500 or even the new Honda E that's forthcoming in Europe. In a traditional framework, you might put the Cybertruck on one end of the spectrum and the Honda E over on the other, and you'd say, okay, mediocre, kind of forgettable design is gonna live in the middle. But I'd like to posit that that's actually not an accurate framework for thinking about polarizing designs. Instead, I'd like to suggest that polarizing designs live on this circular continuum. On one side of the circle, we're gonna put mediocre, also ran, kind of same old stuff, things that look a lot like other things. And on the other side of the spectrum, we could start to pepper in some of these more provocative designs like the Honda E and the Cybertruck. And from this standpoint, I'd say they're a lot closer to each other. Now they're polarizing in different ways, but I think with maybe 15% changes to the Cybertruck, you'd get to something that someone like me would really love just by refining it a little bit more, versus 15% change to just a regular pickup truck over here on the right, probably still be pretty forgettable, probably still blend in with the rest of the pickup trucks. So from that standpoint, I think thinking of polarizing designs more in this way, less as a either or and more as what flavor of polarizing versus what flavor of kind of mediocre are we talking about, then you can start to plot out concepts as a designer of like, how far off to the right do we want to be? How close to other things do we want to be versus how far off to the left in kind of our own zone do we want to be? I think another great example of that is the Sony PS5. Obviously, the PS5's main competition is the Xbox. For the last few generations, the Xbox has been going more and more kind of rectilinear, very simple, very Bauhaus. And I think if I was a design strategist for Sony, I'd say probably likely they're going to continue down to that road. Also, Xbox does a great job with their marketing, and I think they capture a lot of attention. And I think to respond to that, Sony did something really smart. They made something completely different. The PS5 immediately stirred a lot of provocation. I immediately really was drawn to it. The forms are very sophisticated, the surfacing is complex, but I think most of all, it seemed to be a really nice representation of something that was technologically advanced. I think of a gaming console as like an avatar for the gaming experience, where you're supposed to be able to kind of be transported into other worlds and feel like you're entering these other dimensions. And to me, the PS5 just kind of aesthetically represented that more. While the Xbox fits much more into the aesthetic of my home, the PS5 says, I'm not going to be ignored. You have to look at me. I'm a special thing. Now, I also think that was strategically the right thing for Sony to do, because it allowed them to really differentiate from Xbox and say, we're this different other thing, even though we're both gaming consoles. And I think there's 0% chance that you would ever confuse the two of them. But I also think strategically it was super smart, because look at all of the free media that design earned Sony. You would have to pay millions and millions of dollars for the kind of exposure that design garnered them for free. Every single tech blog, every single design blog, even lifestyle media outlets were talking about the design of the PS5 months before it ever came out. And I think that just rose the profile for the exact day that thing was coming out. And I know so many people who didn't even like the design, who were on day one signed up to get it. Would they have been so attuned to it if that design wasn't as provocative as it is? So the point I'm trying to get out here is, whether you like the Tesla Cybertruck or the PS5 or not is almost irrelevant. I think the important thing for me is that they made sense strategically for 3 key reasons. The first is they both immediately differentiated themselves from the rest of their competition. No other pickup truck looks like the Cybertruck, and no other gaming console looks like the PS5. The second is that they provoked love. They immediately gained a set of detractors, but also a set of hardcore fans who love it no matter what. And the third reason is they both are completely memorable. They are just unforgettable designs that resulted in a ton of free media coverage, which you could say is worth millions of dollars in free advertising for both of those respective brands. So when used intentionally and selectively, I think very provocative designs like these can have a positive effect for their brands. Hey everyone, I just wanted to say a special thank you to my friends Spencer Nugent, Hector Silva, and Paul Sohi, who I texted, I don't know, maybe hundreds of times over the past year about these 2 designs in particular, and about design philosophy in general. I just really want to appreciate all my friends who I talk to all the time about design. You all really help me formulate my opinions, and in some cases change my opinions about some of the things we've been talking about. For all of you watching, if you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate it if you liked and subscribed. I'll actually drop a subscribe button for you right here if you want to easily subscribe to the channel. All right, everyone, until next time.